All right, everybody. They said it couldn't be done. They said Max Ketchum could never upload 2 days in a row, let alone 2 videos in the same day. But after how successful the first video on the top Scarlet and Violet threats were, and how hopefully successful the video on the very good high tier Mons will be, I know you guys are hungry for some info, some content on the new game, the new Gen 9 OU tier, and I'm here to bring you just that. And this is just fun for me to make these videos, and hopefully I'm helping you guys learn the meta a little bit. But anyway, we already covered these guys, these 12 plus Cyclozar in the first video. We just covered these 18 Pokemon in the video I uploaded a couple hours ago. And now we're going to go down to the pretty good tier. This is where we get into the heat, right? Some rarer Pokemon that people might not be prepared for. Pokemon that aren't necessarily top tier or top threats, but still like really good and can go on a bunch of different teams and put in hella work. So gonna get into these guys today. And the meta around these Pokemon is way less defined than it is for the higher tier threats, right? So just keep that in mind. A lot of these Pokemon I have not actually played any games with, but I'm going based on what I've seen on the ladder and just my general knowledge of Pokemon. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Please leave a like, sub to the channel, you already know, but also definitely leave a comment with your feedback. These are Pokemon that, again, you can probably teach me something about as well. Haven't gotten to use too many of them. So let's get into it. All right, so first up, we got Screamtail. So I had this Pokemon very low on early renditions of this list. You can actually like check in the video description for my previous vids on the Pokemon that we've covered so far. And there are slight variations, right? Like I'm slowly changing my opinions on some of these Pokemon, or really quickly changing them, because the game's only been out for a week and change. It's impossible to know exactly how good everything is. You know, the meta is still settling, bans are still being made, but after making a fat run on the ladder yesterday, I decided I would take a break and watch some games, and I started spectating this guy named Pokemon is Fun. He was #1 on the ladder. He took kind of a steep dive after maintaining that spot for a while, but you know, sometimes you just have a hot day, a cold day, whatever. So no shade at him. He's an amazing player. Watching his games, I was like, damn, this guy's good. But he runs a weird stall team with Screamtail, and also Iron Treads is on that team, who we talked about in the last video. So I stole his set for both of those Pokemon. But for his Screamtail, he's got heavy duty boots. You got Wish and Protect. That's really the main thing this Pokemon is going to do, is just heal itself or its teammates. You know, passing Wish off of 434 HP is kind of crazy. You got these for just solid coverage. Just, you know, hits a bunch of stuff neutrally. This covers the steals. Sometimes you can even get a cheesy burn out there, but its main purpose is not really to do damage. And of course, you can run different sets based on the needs of your team, right? That's something I really, really want to drive home. None of these sets are the end-all, be-all for these Pokemon. Depending on what your team is good or bad at, you can obviously vary these greatly, right? And again, the meta is still developing, so maybe people will come up with some more sets for these guys that end up completely superseding what I've got here for you. But this thing, its support move pool is crazy. You got screens, you got Stealth Rock, you got all kinds of coverage, right? Even though it's very weak, you can still hit like a 4x Ice Beam on something, or Flamethrower, or Grass Knot, or whatever it is. Boom Burst even, just for that solid neutral damage. Yeah, this Pokemon can put in hella work. So depending on what you need more, you know, Light Screen Reflect, Wish Pass, Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, right? It's got some nasty potential. Just one of those Pokemon that you want to tweak according to the needs of your team. But I don't want to spend too much time on these guys. We got 28 Pokemon to go through, so let's move on to Scizor. So Scizor, I think, has 2 main roles in this current gen. One is to just hit really, really hard with banded bullet punches, banded U-turns. He now gets access to close combat, which is super, super good for him. Previously, he had to use Superpower, which is much worse by comparison. And then I just have Defog as the last move on this because it's nice utility. And that last spot, I mean, it's kind of hard to fit something good on here. You could do Quick Attack if you want to hit something that resists Steel, but I don't think that's that great. I mean, you could do Night Slash or Thief for the Technician boost. Thief is stronger than Night Slash. But overall, I mean, he doesn't really have a great 4th move. So I like Defog just in case. I like the Bulky Band just because you're naturally pretty defensive. This typing is amazing. Bug and Steel is only weak to fire. So you can shrug off a lot of hits when you have all this health. But Alternatively, you could also go max speed. I mean, you have a priority move, but to make your U-turns and close combats more reliable at taking down some threats, maybe it's worth investing in speed. Again, really depends on the needs of your team. But Scizor is pretty cut and dry with the choice band set. Alternatively, you could go like max HP, max SpDef, and have him function as a special wall. I think that's also pretty good. I mean, just as much as he naturally will live a bunch of hits with the offensive set, he'll also naturally kill a bunch of stuff with his stab, technician, bullet punch on defensive sets. So, you know, depends on what you need the most. Also, this Pokemon lost Roost, so that's why I personally do not like the defensive set as much. I would recommend Choice Band. And Terra type is fighting to make your CCs hit crazy hard if you need them, but you could go Mono Steel, you could go Mono Bug. You got some options. I would say fighting or steel are probably the leading ones. But also, you know, maybe you just go water on a defensive set so you're not weak to fire anymore, right? You got a lot of ways to play this guy, but not really. He's also kind of linear. All right, let's talk about the mouse. The family of four. Yeah, hold up. What are we doing here? Yeah. Gotta have the whole squad. Are you kidding me? Oh, wiped his moveset. All right, whatever. It's very easy to recall what this Pokemon is doing, though. And there it is. All right, so Mousehold. This is a Pokemon that I don't think most people were expecting to be as broken as it is. But when I saw him, I was like, man, he can't be this cute, right? This memeable, and not have some disgusting competitive potential. And sure enough, Game Freak delivered on that. So this guy, he kind of plays like Chinchino a little bit, where you're just like a fast, normal type using a multi-hit move. And if you guys don't know what Population Bomb does, it hits 10 times with 90 accuracy, right? So it hits until it misses. Kind of like Triple Axle, right? It'll just keep going until you fail that accuracy check. But that 90 becomes 99 when you got the power of the wide lens at your disposal. Oh, and also, he has Technician on a 20 base power move. So now you're hitting 30 power 10 times. Wow, isn't that 300 power? But hold up, it's a normal type move on a normal type Pokemon. So now it's 450 power. Wait a minute. Oh, that's not enough damage? Oh, you hear that phone ringing in the song? Yeah, that was me calling up my guys. And they told me that if you Terrasilize this thing, it becomes 400 base power. Absolutely crazy. The mouse is nuts. Yeah, if you clear their ghosts and steals off the field, this thing is just going crazy. I mean, you got Bite to cover the ghosts. You can run Low Kick instead to cover the steals. You can run Low Kick over U-turn, but I like U-turn because when you bring this thing in, they're almost always going straight to their ghost, right? So it can be a good way to bait something in and then U-turn out on the switch. And then you got Tidy Up, which is probably one of the nuttiest moves ever printed. It's Dragon Dance, but also it is hazard removal. So it clears Stealth Rock spikes, Toxic spikes, all that. Clears their sub. Clears your sub too, which is something you got to watch out for. I had a set with Tidy Up and sub, but, you know, using one or the other is kind of rough. So, you know, as good as it sounds to have sub to set something like this up, you do lose your own sub when you Tidy Up. But, you know, you can actually, like, if you're faster than them and you're behind the sub, you just Population Bomb twice. But if they're faster than you and you're behind the sub, then you let them break your sub and then you Tidy Up, and it gets you that free turn to set up. So there's actually ways to play with both sub and Tidy Up, even though it gets rid of your own. But it gets rid of any hazards that you've put out as well. It's like defog, right? So you got to be careful that you're not like setting your progress back when you use Tidy Up. Either way, dude, this thing hits crazy hard. Only 249 attack if you go Jolly, which I really strongly believe that you should. Just you need as much speed as possible. Troll ass speed tier, by the way, 111. So you'll slightly outpace the base 110s if they're not scarfed up. And if they are, then after a Tidy Up, you're faster than them. I mean, point being, though, you get this thing in, you click Population Bomb, things die. That's really the end-all, be-all purpose of this mon. And another thing you have to watch out for is Rocky Helmet, because this does make contact. So Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin will make the mouse, the entire mouse lineage, just jump to their deaths, right? So you don't want to do that. Make sure you knock off Rocky Helmets. Make sure you eliminate Ghost types. Honestly, even steals are taking quite a bit of damage to Population Bomb, especially if you're Terrastilized. But, yeah, getting rid of his enemies is really, like, the best way to just destroy an entire team. If you get rid of fast guys, ghosts, steals, and Rocky Helmets. nothing is stopping you. That said, that's a lot of ifs, right? Which is why this guy's only in a pretty good tier. He's not a completely dominant because it is easy to stop him in his tracks. But if you do manage to open up for the mouse hold sweep, it's very hard to stop. And of course, priority moves destroy this thing. Mach Punch, just eating this for breakfast from Breloom. D-Knight Extreme Speed. I don't think you're surviving at +1, but maybe you are. Maybe just at +1. Either way, you got to watch out for a lot of stuff with this guy, but he can completely win a game for you. All right, Meowscarada, aka Weed Cat, aka the GOAT. I'm definitely Team Sprigatito. That was my starter in my playthrough of this game. And, it actually completely dunks on the in-game. I had little to no trouble sweeping through everything with this guy. But in competitive, it's a little different. So when we first saw this Mon, and really when we first saw all the starters, we thought this guy was just going to rip a hole in the meta, right? Like the starter stats were some of the first to get data mined. And it was like, oh my God, Protean with this much attack and this much speed. This guy's going to be unstoppable. He's Greninja. He's Cinderace all over again, right? But I think, honestly, he kind of fell behind a little bit. And I think he's still probably the best starter overall. But I don't think any of the starters are like completely dominant OU threats. Really, the only thing that worked against these guys is that once all the other Pokemon stats came out, we were like, oh, hold on. Suddenly, a fast, strong Protean user is not even the craziest thing to worry about. You got guys like Annihilate and Goldengo, and oh yeah, Dragonite is back, and he's smashing everything with Terra Extreme Speed. Oh, Chi-Yu, by the way. Don't forget about this guy, one-shotting everything in existence. So, Meowscarada, and honestly, all three of the starters are still really, really good, but not as good as we had initially thought. So, Protean, you already know what this does. Changes him to the type of the move he's about to use, and that's just so good. Even though you already have 3 stab moves on here, you can replace Sucker Punch or Knockoff, depending on what you need more or less, with something like Play Rough, with something like Low Kick, Thunder Punch, Terra Blast even. I think like Terra Fire could be really cool on this guy to just send his coverage to the next dimension. But really getting this stab U-turn is super nice. So even with 3 stab moves, running U-turn and getting it boosted by this is really good. So the most unfortunate thing for Meowscarada, though, is that his speed, while it's so amazing, is just not enough to keep up with the best guys without a Choice Scarf. Stuff like Chen Pao is faster than you. All the various Scarf Mons in the tier are faster than you if you don't put a Scarf on yourself. You can maybe go Adamant with Scarf just to maximize your damage, but I don't know. There's really, really fast guys with Scarfs running around, so maybe Jolly is still the move. But I don't know. I like both. I like Adamant and Jolly. I've used this Pokemon a little bit, not as much as I would have liked to. I thought I was going to have him on every team, but just after seeing what was out there, I'm like, damn, Loki doesn't do enough, but he's still so useful. You don't even have to run Scarf. Obviously, Band is an amazing option. You have Priority Sucker Punch, so coming off the fast Band one, you could do a ton of damage with it. Flower Trick hits so hard, rips through any defense boosted Mons. Like, this is probably one of the best answers to Dondozo, just because they don't invest in physical defense. They just rely on their very good natural physical defense and probably go max Spadef. Maybe that'll change. But no matter how many curses he has up, this is destroying him. This is also destroying Water Terastallized Annihilate. So Meowscarada definitely has a good role in the meta. You could go Terra Grass to make your Flower Trick crazy strong, but I like Dark just because it has less weaknesses. And if you're mono Dark, it's a little easier to switch this guy in. But his defenses are not built for taking hits at all. This guy is paper thin. So if you don't want to run a choice set, you could do like Focus Sash with Spikes. You can do Spikes and Taunt, Toxic Spikes. He can set hazards. He could just be an annoying utility Mon. But yeah, he's one of the few Mons with Knockoff. This move is really, really good. Again, critting through defense boosts is very useful. And as long as those Pokemon are meta, like Dondozo. And Annihilate. But yeah, I think Meowscarada's got it going on. Still a really good Mon. Just not as scary as we thought at first, right? Before we had seen the rest of what Gen 9 had to offer, and we only knew what the starters did, or like the starters and the Paradox Mons did. We thought this was going to be a beast, but he's still a beast, just not as free to win with as initially expected. But yeah, a lot of really good moves. Not the widest move pool, but again, Low Kick, Play Rough, Thunder Punch, Terra Blast. You won't be starved for options with this guy, that's for sure. And his stabs are amazing. All right, so Quack Wavel. By the way, probably the weirdest Mon name I've seen in a long time. A lot of people are calling him like Quack Wavel or Quack Wavel, but I'm 99% sure it's Quack Wavel, like Quack plus Naval plus Aqua. But anyway, yeah, this thing has the potential to sweep an entire team. He has Moxie, so every kill he gets stronger, but his new signature move, Aqua Step, is like Flame Charge with 80 power. Oh my fucking god, dude. So I like Life Orb and Swords Dance on this. You can just close out a game with this. You know, you Swords Dance on the switch, Aqua Jet to pick off the first guy, or Aqua Step to boost your speed. Like, you can also bring this in when they have a guy at low HP and the rest of their mons are still faster than you. You just Aqua Step on them and, you know, get faster, get stronger. Boom. Like, 295 speed. It's not the best, but after a boost, anything that's not Choice Scarf, you're probably outrunning. This does outspeed Dragapult after one Aqua Step. But also, it's very hard to kill Dragapult. Does he get Play Rough? No, I don't think he gets any Dark or Ghost or Fairy coverage that can hit Dragapult. Yeah, I mean, unless you like Terastallized, but whatever. You don't really need it. Ideally, something like Dragapult is going down before you start sweeping with this guy, just to make sure, you know, the field is clear for him. You can run Wave Crash over Aqua Jet if you're not worried about priority, but I personally do like priority. Even on the completely, like, speed boosting set, right? Like, just having priority is super, super good because you beat other priority users if you're faster than them. And if you've Aqua Stepped, you probably will be. This gets super duper walled by Dragonite, though. You can use Ice Spinner for coverage over Aqua Jet or over Swords Dance. You could go Choice Band and just sweep only with Aqua Step and keep getting faster. There's a lot of ways to play this guy into an end game, but he is an end game Mon, right? He's not like an early game breaker or like a pivot or anything, but he does learn U-turn. So, I mean, it could happen, right? But you don't want a U-turn on a guy who's all about his Moxie boost, all about speed boosting with Aqua Step. And I do like having the freedom of choosing your move, right? And going with Life Orb over a choice set. But again, you could run Banded, you could run Scarf, you could run, I don't know, what else would be good on him? I mean, Boots is probably not terrible just to freely bring him in and out. But again, I think he plays that late game cleaner role better than anything. Smon is definitely a threat. If you don't have the tools to stop him, he can run amok and completely destroy your whole team. But it is hard to do. And I like Terra Water on him just to power up your Aqua Step. You can go Terra Fighting. You can maybe go some other type with Terra Blast. But, I mean, even Ghost to avoid extreme speeds from Dragonite. But I think this is probably the optimal loadout. Again, you tweak it based on what your team needs. And last but not least, we got Fuecoco 3, a.k.a. Skeleturge, the fucking boy. Bro, they should have named him like Skelegator or something like that. I don't know. I don't know why they called him Skeleturge. A dirge is like a funeral song, so I get it. And he has the little bird playing the keys on his nose, which is cool. But I don't know. I think there were just other ways to name this Mon. Either way, shouted him out in the last video, but once again, shout outs to the boy, Lord Envy. He came out with the vid on this very early into the game, showing off the power of a tanky, unaware Skeleturge. So you got Unaware, which is super good in this meta where everyone is trying to boost and sweep you. Dondozo and Quagsire and Clodsire also have access to this ability, so I think they're going to become some of like the premier answers to setup sweepers. Skeleturge, he's the lowest on the tier list just because I think his overall utility is lower than those guys, but he could still be a menace in the right hands, on the right team, etc. You almost always want to Terastallize this guy to Fairy. Like, I could see Water, I could see Poison for that toxic immunity, right? I could see a couple different options being really good, maybe even Steel. But I like Fairy just because dark type attacks aimed at you now become a resist. Having a dark resist is super important in this meta with the rise of Chi-Yu. But yeah, for your moveset, you got Torch Song, which is like Fiery Dance, but it's guaranteed to raise your special attack rather than just being a, I think it's 50% chance for Fiery Dance. You got Shadow Ball for the stab. You could run Terra Blast in place of this, or you could run Terra Blast in place of Will-O-Wisp. But I really like Will-O-Wisp. I think spreading status is a little bit underutilized in this current meta right now. You know, we see some toxic users, some spore users, but not too much burn and paralysis out there. So shutting off their Dragonite, for example, just coming in on a plus a million Dragonite, being unaware, and then Will-O-Wisping him can be devastating. And then you have Slack Off for the reliable recovery. Obviously, the PP has been slashed down from 16 to 8, so you got to be careful with how you use them. But still, yeah, this Pokemon is really nasty on the right team and in the right situation. You just get plus a million with Torch Song and start frying shit. So yeah, Skeleturge, he's pretty good. I mean, I could also see like a Choice Specs set. He's too slow to really make that much use of it, but he could be a nasty wall breaker. And like at the end of the game, you know, as long as you're not in danger of getting one shot by anything, you can maybe just cook them all with Torch Song. But I think this is probably his best use, just this unaware sweep stopper, right? All right, cool. So we've covered these 6, and now we're going to go on to the next batch. So here we have a couple hot takes in here, maybe. I'm not sure, again, exactly how good all these Pokemon are going to end up being, but right now I think all these guys are still a threat. So Poltigeist, man, a little bit overlooked because everyone wants to mess with the new Pokemon, but this thing is still so raw, especially in a meta with Shed Tail and dual screens. You know, I haven't seen that many people abusing those strats, but they're still definitely out there. They're still definitely scary. And if you get this thing in behind a sub, forget about it. You're actually just cooked. If you double Shell Smash with this guy, I mean, you're already Ghost type, right? So you don't have to worry about extreme speed. You're going to be faster than the whole tier. And yeah, as long as you play well around stuff like Sucker Punch and like the Aqua Jets that are lurking out there, Bullet Punches, whatever, you can really make this Mon do a ton of work. So very standard set. Shadow Ball stored power, you can expect that from last gen. Stored power just goes absolutely crazy with all the boosts you're going to have. But then I have Terra Blast Fighting taking the place of Giga Drain. So Giga Drain was like really the only coverage option that this Mon used to have. But now you got Terra Blast Fighting. You get that coveted Marshadow coverage, that Annihilate coverage. You know, Ghost and Fighting, extremely hard to resist together. So, yeah, you can just rip through a whole team with this. And also, Psychic and Fighting is really good coverage because, you know, they want to throw their Dark type in, be immune to your stored power. All right, hold this super effective Terra Blast. And yeah, that said, there's a lot of value to retaining your Ghost type, right? Because you won't get extreme speeded. But if their Dragonite is dead, you can pretty much just go Fighting and you're good to go. I have Modest on this, but I don't know. I mean, like, what is this 478 speed? Like, maybe you want to go with Timid for the sake of outspeeding some super duper fast guys, like fast guys with Choice Scarfs. I'm thinking like Iron Valiant, for example, but it comes down to what you want more. Just that extra edge with speed or the extra damage. But Poltigeist is still nasty. Don't get it twisted. You keep the field clear of hazards, or you pass this guy's sub with Cyclizar, and he can just win an entire game for you. Be careful of unaware Mons, though. I would say, you know, for Dondozo, maybe you do want the Giga Drain, right? Stored power, obviously the power boost will still come through, but you won't get the extra special attack against him. So you got a lot of threats to account for, which is why this guy isn't higher on the tier list, right? Unaware, I think, holds all setup sweepers back quite a bit. That's why probably, you know, guys like Volcarona and Baxcalibur aren't in this top threat tier. Dragonite is just because he's got extreme speed and, you know, he's so reliable to set up. But Poltigeist just a little bit behind the curve, I think. Still extremely dangerous, though. I would not even be surprised to see this Pokemon go even higher. Maybe he belongs in very good. I don't know. It really depends on Cyclizar's fate, and it depends on how popular unaware walls end up becoming. Then we got Magnezone. Magnezone is in an interesting spot because the two premier steals in the tier are Corviknight, who you absolutely smash, as always, and Goldengo. And Golden Guy being part Ghost means he can't be trapped, right? So you can actually switch him out on Magnet Pull Magnezone, and he can one-shot you with Focus Blast or do like a shitload of damage to you with it. So you don't really counter this guy, but Corviknight is starting to pop up as one of those like roll compression walls, right? Where he can kind of just survive everything, get the hazards up, and U-turn, like just does a lot in one slot. So, you know, he's starting to become popular again. Again, also that new toy syndrome is kind of wearing off for people. But I don't know, who else do you trap? Bisharp, I mean, King Gambit, Iron Treads, like this thing destroys you anyway. This thing, you can beat him with Magnezone, but also if you Terrasilize, then you're not trapped anymore, and this thing does love to Terrasilize to Mono Dark. Either way, yeah, the Premier Steals, he's not countering that well, but he also gets to be a little bit more unique in his role of being a pivot, right? And a strong pivot at that. So I like Choice Specs with Volt Switch. If they're not switching in a ground type, which high key, they're kind of everywhere in this meta, between Great Tusk and Chomp especially, and Ting Lu and Iron Treads and Clodsire, right? But if you do get that strong Volt Switch off, you do a shitload of damage. You got Flash Cannon to just hit everything. You know, nothing's immune to steel. But your new toy, speaking of new toys, is Ice Terra Blast. And again, I haven't seen this, but I'm guessing it's going to be dirty. So you get that Bolt Beam coverage for yourself. You turn into a much worse defensive type. But if you're running an offensive Magnezone, you don't really care, right? You just ideally want to make good reads on switches with this and start killing stuff. They will probably always throw in their Great Tusk or something against you, right? So you just Terra Blast on the switch if you read that. I could see other moves being better in this last slot, but not really at the same time. Like you could do Steel Beam to be like a suicide pivot. You could be, I don't know, Try Attack for the neutral hit. Like, nah, low key. There's probably nothing better on the Choice Spec set. But you can also go like bulky with Leftovers and Iron Defense Body Press. But again, you're not really trapping anything, right? Like that was a set for Ferrothorn, who's not in the game. Heatran is not in the game. So I don't know if the Mirror Coat set is any good. I would say probably not. But yeah, Magnezone might still be good. This one, I'm not so sure. I mean, you could Choice Scarf him too. But thing is, even with max speed, I think he goes to 240. And that's only 360 speed with the Choice Scarf. You're not really faster than any fast guys, right? If they have a Choice Scarf, they're outspeeding you. And even if they don't, a good amount of these mons reach 360 or higher speed, like especially Chen Pao is who I'm thinking of. Dragon Dance on any of these guys. I think Roaring Moon hits 370 speed with no Scarf. So you got to be very careful running Magnezone. But if you have a team that's very weak to Corv, like, you know, or a setup sweeper that really doesn't appreciate dealing with Corv, like Dragonite, for example, nothing better than just smacking him with the Specs Volt Switch. Really, his sole role in the meta is to counter Corviknight. All right, I'm going to try to move a little faster just to get through all these guys. We're already almost at a half hour. Sandy Shocks, so Magnezone's cousin, right? Paradox, Magneton. This guy, I was sleeping on him at the beginning. I thought he was kind of ass, but I actually think he's very good. You have a solid speed tier, 331 at max with a positive nature. You can go Life Orb, you can go Choice Specs, you can go Boots, you could go Choice Scarf, and this thing gets a lot of really good moves. So again, we were talking about how Volt Switching pivots are kind of rare in this meta. I like Volt Switch on him, Discharge to Fish for Paralysis, Earth Power for insane coverage, and then you have Stealth Rock and Spikes, really just take whichever one you like more, but you could go Thunder Wave, you could go Terra Blast Ice. I like Terra type Ghost on this, so you block spin. You could even do double hazards, right? Get rid of this Discharge, and you have double hazards into Volt Switch, which is very nice. Yeah, this sample set, I really didn't even know what to put, just because I still have not gotten to play this Pokemon yet, but he has a lot of options, and he's very strong. 121 special attack, very solid, and you know, you're aiming for their weaknesses with types like Ground and Electric. You don't get the Trap Corviknight, which kind of sucks, but you're still very, very good and very strong. All right, well, yeah, also I could see him on Sun teams with Photosynthesis boosting his speed. This thing is kind of demonic. Or you could even go Modest with a Choice Scarf and Photosynthesis. Like, this is kind of an untapped mon. I like Life Orb so you can switch moves and deal a ton of damage, but yeah, there are several options for him. All right, Slitherwing is next. So this is one of the two Paradox Volcaronas. This is more like Paradox Larvesta, I guess, from the past. So I like Bandit on this. You could also run Scarf. You could also run Boots. But with Band, you're just hitting so hard with Choice First Impression. Oh my god. And then I personally think Terra Bug, just to hit ridiculously hard with this, is a move. But you could go Terra Fighting for the extra strong close combats. You could go Terra Fire for the extra strong Flare Blitz. You could maybe go with a defensive one. I don't really know. You know, I could see Fighting being the move because you're going to like resist Stealth Rock as opposed to becoming weak to it. But again, this is a mon that probably wants to play around hazards like off the field, right? You want to have a good defogger or spinner on your team with this. I just did max speed, max attack. He's still kind of slow. So Choice Band is rough, but you have a priority move. You can maybe just go Choice Scarf and focus on speed and pivoting over damage. U-turn is really good. Again, pivots are not as popular as they used to be in Gen 8, so he kind of plays that role uniquely. But yeah, you could do a bulk up set with Leech Life. You could do even Morning Sun on that set. You could do Terra Blast if you want to get real crazy, but he's got a pretty decent move pool. It's a shame that he learned so many special moves, right? Imagine he got like, I don't know. Imagine there was a physical equivalent to Hurricane other than itemless acrobatics. But yeah, Slitherwing, pretty cool mon. He's got some stuff. Iron Moth, though, I think is just straight up better. I've never seen this set with Terra Blast Ice, but I've used it to great effect. If you're +1 from a Fiery Dance, you one-shot Dragonite through multi-scale with Terra Ice. And people love bringing in dragons on this guy, man. They love it. So if you want to kill a Garchomp, if you want to kill a Dragonite in record time, man, you get that +1 and you just shit on him with Terra Blast. And you have agility to reach 700 speed after the boost. Guy goes crazy with that speed, and you can keep boosting your special attack over and over again. So I think this is a really good like late game cleaner mon. But he can also just melt through like a steel type guy, or like, you know, Sludge Wave is pretty good coverage. You hit fairies, you hit grass types, but yeah, I think really the Ice Terra Blast is what drives this thing home as one of the top, not one of the top, but one of the scarier mons in terms of coverage. Like Fire, Poison, and Ice. It's very difficult to resist that. Still not perfect, and obviously you're 4 times weak to ground. Terraing to Ice makes you neutral. You could go Terra Flying, because that's also really good coverage. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to play this mon, and I think he's pretty untapped. Still has a ton of special attack, even with a timid nature. So I think Iron Moth's got some potential, but it is hard to get him in and wreak havoc unless you're playing perfectly, or like you have some crazy team support that lets this guy clean up at the end. So next we got Orthworm. So this is the other Shed Tail user. The primary one being Cyclizar. It's like the slow version, right? He's only got 65 base speed. It's not the slowest Pokemon out there. So you can maybe get like a fast Shed Tail off against some stallier Pokemon. He has this new ability, Earth Eater. It's like Water Absorb, but for ground types. It's amazing on a Mono Steel mon. I put Terra Electric just because your one weakness now turns into an absorption. And it's probably really hard to take this thing out in one hit. I haven't played with this Pokemon, but I have fought against it, and I believe this is the moveset I always see. So the cool thing about him versus Cyclizar is like he can actually do something on his own. He can set up rocks. I guess Cyclizar can spin. And then he can set up Iron Defense and Body Press and do a shitload of damage. You could even drop Iron Defense for like a Iron Head or some other move that's not setup based. Earthquake, not a bad option either. Spikes if you want the dual hazards, but Body Press is nice because he has a lot of defense anyway. 328 uninvested, and well, I guess 326 uninvested, but yeah, he hits pretty hard with the Body Press. And you use Citrus Berry because you don't have any recovery on your own. You could use Rest and Chesto Berry, or just straight up Rest and pray that you wake up to get another Shed Tail off. But since this sacks half your life, the Citrus Berry is very much appreciated. And again, he's the slow Shed Tail passer, right? So what that means is that your Pokemon that you pass to will guaranteed get a turn behind the substitute. I think Orthworm and Poltigeist could be one of the nastiest combos, especially if you manage to keep them both healthy for the end game, manage to keep hazards off the field. Jesus Christ, bro. That Poltigeist is going plus 1,000,000 and eating your whole team alive. I don't really know what other options you got for this guy. His move pool's kind of limited. He gets Coil and Curse, though, which are both really good. Heavy Slam. Yeah, there's a couple ways to play this mon, but I think really what you want is this Shed Tail passer. And you max out on Special Defense just because you're frail on that side without the investment, and you're already quite bulky physically. Okay. So, on to the next batch. Low Kicks. I really like this guy, man. And I really hate fighting him. I haven't used him yet. But you could run Life Orb, Boots, or Choice Band. They're all really solid. You get priority with First Impression and Sucker Punch. So you're just going to be shitting out some damage. Actually, I think I probably like Adamant better because you have 2 priority moves. You want to get as much damage as you possibly can. Being able to switch moves is nice because if you come in and you first impression, then you just have to leave, right? You have to either fail the move or switch out if you're choiced. So that's why I like Life Orb. You're still getting a lot of damage, but you're weak to rocks, right? So I like Terra Dark. Gives your Sucker Punch really strong late game cleaning potential. You could forego maybe U-turn for something like Throat Chop, right? Just solid Dark Stab. Swords Dance is very good for endgaming, right? You could Swords Dance and then Sucker Punch to clean up. But the problem is if they play around that, you're not really getting any value out of the Swords Dance. So, yeah, I'm not completely sold on the set. You have Axe Kick, which is really good for coverage. You have Leech Life if you want to heal back. So this set is more just to like showcase his potential uses rather than to say this is actually like the set of 4 moves that you want to run. Again, it depends on the team that you have, but you could just get rid of this for Axe Kick and go choice, or get rid of this for Throat Chop if you want to focus on the Swords Dance. But I really like his strong U-turn, and I mean Tinted Lens. This is why this guy is even a thing, right? Nothing resists him unless you 4 times resist him, in which case you're still only like taking half the damage, which coming off of this guy's pretty damn strong attack, 333 plus a Life Orb, like you're taking a beating. You could Terra Bug as well just to make your first impressions and U-turn do a ton of damage, but I don't know, that's like very risky if you can't keep rocks off the field. So I am slightly partial to Dark. It also, again, makes your end game potential really clean. But this is more of like an early game, like annoying pivoty mon that just puts a dent in their walls and shit like that. So probably not the target for your Terra. But yeah, overall a really good mon. And Pokeaim, shout outs to him. He did a great video breaking down this mon. It's one of his favorites, I believe, from the new generation. So he put out a moveset guide for him a couple days ago. Definitely go ahead and check that out if you want more of like a deep dive into what Lokex does. All right, next we got Barracuda. He is doing the same thing that he was before. Rain is a lot less prevalent, and this Pokemon also lost access to Flip Turn. So that's a huge knock against him. I mean, he was one of the top threats in Gen 8 OU just because on Rain you could really just never stop this guy. But yeah, he loses to Dragonite pretty badly, right? You get +2 prioritied by Extreme Speed. He has a little trouble cracking through some of the threats. I mean, there's Water Absorb guys like Clodsire out there who just completely wall him. Crunch would hit decently hard, but still. Yeah, Water Absorb shuts him down. Dondozo shuts him down, who is everywhere, especially with Rocky Helmet. But Barracuda is still a threat. Like, you still hit 700 something speed, and Rain boosted, choice banded liquidations are killing the shit out of like everything in the tier. You probably die, you get obliterated, you die, you're fine. You get obliterated, but Sucker Punch will destroy him. Smashed. Honestly, even on the resist probably takes a lot, but like Garchomp and Dragapult are pretty good at surviving. If you don't have a sash, you're dead. If you don't have a sash, you're probably dead. And I don't think Mach Punch one pieces it. Yeah, he could take it. All the dragons are pretty good at tanking him. Corviknight obviously can tank him, but still, don't sleep on Barracuda. Oh, Amoonguss, another big threat for him. Barracuda can do so much work in this gen, though. It's just that Rain is less good, and he lost Flip Turn, and there's a lot of either Water Resist or Water Absorb that you have to worry about. So I think his stock fell a little bit, and that's why I'd put him in like the 3rd highest tier of Pokemon. But still a demon, and I think you just Terra Water for the extra firepower. Again, akin to guys like Palafin and Quack Wavel, you could really do some work with this guy. Yeah, all right, and then Gyarados. Gyarados, I think, is one of the main beneficiaries of this Cyclizar and Screens meta. Like, whether it's just one or both of those things. You get this guy behind a sub, you DD up, you sweep. It's the same as it's been forever and ever with this guy. You could run Intimidate instead of Moxie if it opens up the path to sweeping for you more easily, but Moxie just allows you to keep ramping as you keep picking up kills. And now he has another new toy in the form of Terra Blast, right? So Gyarados has never gotten a flying type stab other than Hidden Power in Generation 3, right? Because Hidden Power became special after Gen 4. So you never got to mess with that and put in hella work. I mean, I guess you have Bounce, right? But nobody is trying to give up a free turn. Oh, did he lose Bounce? Wow, he really did. That's so weird. Either way, yeah, Gyarados is a monster, but in order to fulfill the conditions for him to sweep a team, you've got to buy yourself a little bit of time. So, yeah, I think this mon is still a monster. You could run Taunt. You could run even a bulkier support set. Thunder Wave is good on him. What else you got? Oh, Earthquake, obviously, right? If you have a Cyclizar, you just ditch sub and put Earthquake on instead of substitute. He doesn't really have any good support moves other than Thunder Wave, though. He also lost Power Whip, which kind of sucks for his coverage, but you guys know what Gyarados does. He's just pretty good at doing it this gen. And Terra Blast is nice. Yeah, Shed Tail and Terra Blast, I think, single-handedly or double-handedly put this guy back in the meta. He's really good. But, again, very setup reliant and not that reliable. So, next is Hawlucha, another mon that, just because the Tapus are gone, he kind of suffers. So, like, you know, his setup conditions are harder to come across, but still very dangerous. You could run this on a team with all the Paradox Pokemon, the Iron Pokemon, and use Electric Seed. You know, guys like, well, Iron Bundle's banned now, but Iron Valiant is really good. Iron Treads, Iron Hands, Iron Moth, right? Like, there's quite a few of these in the upper echelon of the meta. So if you wanted to run like a Pincurchin with all those guys and with Hawlucha, I could see it working low key. I've also seen like White Herb to turn your close combat into an Unburden activation. But the value you get out of the Electric Seed defense boost, the Thunder Punch power boost, the Terra to Electric power boost off of this as well, I think is really good. And it gives you a way to hit Corv super effectively, way to hit bulky waters super effectively, unless it's like Quaggy, who is just going to eat your shit up because he's ground type. And he's unaware. Dondozo does the same thing because your Sword Stance don't matter to him, but at least you have something super effective to hit him with. But yeah, this mon, he's still really scary. It's just not as dominant. Like, there's so many mons who are strong from turn one that don't need a setup like crazy now. And there are also better candidates, bulkier candidates to get your setup going. So Hawlucha, he's still here, but he's not as crazy as he was in Gen 8. Pelipper is next. I think really just Rain is not as strong as it used to be. It's still strong, though. You know, Pelipper and Barracuda kind of go crazy. Kilowattrel is like a nice new fun guy for Rain to use. You can use Tailwind to make your non-Swift Swim guys get strong. You can use Weather Ball on him, you know. Like, Pelipper is always good because of the mons that go with him, though, not because of himself. And I think, you know, his placement on the list is really just kind of a look into the placement of Rain on the list. I think Rain's still good, but again, not as dominant as Gen 8. So you run a pretty similar moveset. I like this. He doesn't have Defog anymore, so you get 2 attacks. You can run Surf over Hydro Pump, but I like just being able to nuke something. You get the Rain boost to make this really strong. Just got to pray that you hit. Hurricane obviously will always hit in the rain, and it's a very strong flying stab. And you got U-turn just to pivot and keep yourself alive with Roost. Yeah, I put Terra-type Ground just because you become immune to Electric. Could be really huge for you. Although it does open you up to opposing Water-type moves, especially when you're boosting them with your own Rain. But I like Ground on him. I haven't gotten to use Pelipper, so I'm not sure if this is actually a good play, but I think there's some potential with this. And again, you know, like 50th time I'm dropping this disclaimer. This is still a very new meta. Don't take what I'm saying as gospel. Maybe ground type Terra Pelipper is garbage. So we'll see. All right, Rotom Heat. I think this is honestly some heat. Very similar to the Iron Moth. You can turn into an ice type and get insane coverage. You have Volt Switch plus Terra Blast Ice, that Bolt Beam coverage that so many Pokemon love. And you got some fire to top it all off. You have Nasty Plot to either mitigate your overheat drops or just make all your moves super, super cracked, right? Nasty Plot with him is kind of weird because this drops your special attack and this switches you out, which clears the boost. But just to hit really hard for the one time, I like this, man. I think Rotom Wash is more of the passive, like Will-O-Wisp and Trick kind of guy, or like, you know, Choice Scarf guy. But this thing, I could see him coming in and just shutting down some defensive mons, having nasty type coverage. 298 speed, it's not the worst. It's not the best. It ties with Glamora. But, you know, you levitate over stuff like Great Tusk, so he can't kill you with Earthquake, and you could Terra Blast him in response. Yeah, I don't know. I think this Mon has some potential. This is just a set that I came up with on my own. I've never seen anyone use Rotom Heat, but quite honestly, I think this Mon is still going to be very strong. A great answer to a Mungus, by the way. If they try to switch into your Volt Switch or whatever, you know, you have this. Or if a Mon is already asleep. Because I don't think Overheat will kill him in one shot unless they're like 0 SPDF investment. But yeah, I think Rotom Heat is going to be good. Again, a lot of these tierings are kind of hot takes / my own personal opinion. But I think this Mon probably can't be bad with the advent of boots, right? Keeping him safe from Stealth Rock. All right. And now let's go into the next grouping here. So Slowking. Slowking's in a really interesting spot because he lost Teleport. All of the Slows lost Teleport. And, well, I guess really just Slowbro and Slowking because the Galarian forms aren't in this yet. But he did gain a new move that Slowbro didn't gain, which is Chilly Reception. This is like Hail and Teleport in the same move. We were talking about Roll Compression being kind of crazy this gen. You know, you got Dragon Dance and Defog at the same time. So why can't you have Teleport and Hail at the same time? And now obviously it's not Hail, it's Snow. I think Snowscape is the new move name. Is that on here? Yes, Snowscape. So this is Teleport and Snowscape at the same time. Which gives him a really unique niche as a slow pivoter with Regenerator, right? So you got Future Sight to complement that as well. It was so common to see Slowbro or Slowking or Galarian Slowking last gen with Future Sight plus Teleport. Just set it up and then get out of there. Get a safe switch to your new Mon. Teleport at -6 priority. You're guaranteed to go last, basically. And you'd always get the counterpick advantage, and you'd always get the safe, undisturbed switch into your next guy. Now, you don't have Teleport, but you don't have to raw switch either because of Chilly Reception. The only way they're going after you is if they have like a Slowking who's also minimum speed and also uses Chilly Reception on the same turn and loses the speed tie, right? So this is pretty much a guaranteed safe switch. You don't even care about playing this on a Snow team. Like the Snow is just a bonus. You know, if you have like a random Ice guy on your team, I guess he'll get a defense boost. But like, you know, we see Titan with Slush Rush here. Other than that, nobody really benefits from the Snow that much. So you're kind of just playing this like a regular Slowking, and the Snow just happens to go up. Like it's a funny little animation in the background. But you got Boots, so you can pivot around very freely. Don't have to worry about Toxic Spikes particularly. Future Sight is his main source of damage. But I also threw Blizzard on this because, one, you're not investing in special attack, right? So Ice Beam wouldn't really hit that hard. And two, you're setting up the Snow. So you can actually benefit from this yourself. If you come back in, right, now you have 100% accurate Blizzard. And it just hits a lot harder, right? Like you'll miss the kill on Garchomp and Dragonite without special attack investment. With Ice Beam, this hits a lot harder. So maybe you'll take them out in one, or at least do a lot of chip to them. This could be any move though. This could be Flamethrower, Psychic, Surf, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Grass Knot, Terra Blast, some shit. And I like Terraing him into a Fairy type because you get rid of your weakness to Bug and Dark. And it's just a very solid defensive typing overall. So if you need to, in a pinch, you can keep this guy alive for one extra turn or a couple extra turns. Did I just want to make sure I talked about the Terra type on all these previous guys? Yeah, I did. Okay. But yeah, that's Slowking. He plays a very similar role. He's just a little bit worse at it because Slack Off lost some PP. You don't get your crackhead Galarian form with the poison typing, which is, I would say, slightly better than Water and Psychic. But yeah, this is still a good Mon, but just kind of lost his shine. And again, the meta is so offensive now that it's easier to see this thing go down in a couple of hits. Tyranitar. Well, we've been talking about a lot of weather setters. We're talking about Pelipper and now Slowking, who's somehow become the snow setter. But also Tyranitar is still here with Sand. And I think that Sand is still pretty good. I would give this guy the edge over Hippowdon. We were talking about how Qianpao is like Mega Weavile. I think Ting Lu is like Mega Hippowdon. Just kind of outclasses him in several regards. Hippowdon lost Toxic. Slack Off has been nerfed, and now like everyone and their mother gets Stealth Rock. So the things that made Hippowdon special are not as prevalent, but Tyranitar, he still has his unique factors. That being part Rock type, so you get the special defense boost from a Sandstorm being active, and crazy special defense, base 100, and then you got Sandstream going on, right? Sandstorm. So you just add another free fat chunk of special defense. I think it's 164 extra SPDF just for being in the sand. Man, we were talking about how Chi-Yu is becoming a much more popular special attacker. And this is one of the few things that really shut it down. Like Ting Lu does too, but I think Tyranitar is even better at countering Chi-Yu. Because he resists fire and Dark Stab, and he has so much SPDF that even the Terra Blast grass is not going to do much to this guy. Maybe like Chi-Yu starts running Terra Blast fighting to go extra hard on this guy, but I don't think so. I think grass is probably still the best type for him. But yeah, Tyranitar, I mean, his move pool is so massive. These are kind of just the moves I threw on here. Thunder Wave, I think, having that support to lower your opponent's speed is very useful. He's a good rocker, but maybe you already have a rocker and you don't need this, right? So you could go, I don't know, you could add Crunch, you could add Ice Punch, you could add Fire Punch or Flamethrower or Ice Beam or Thunderbolt or like really anything. I think Tyranitar is just so diverse in the ways that you can run him. Again, don't take this shit as gospel. There are so many different ways you can make this Pokemon work and suit your needs. For Terra type, I put Flying just because a lot of fighting and ground moves will be aimed at this guy, but keep in mind that you will receive Sand Chip and you will lose your special defense boost. So I think you generally probably just want to leave this guy in his regular typing. He's too supporty and passive to really be worth the Terra, but if it wins you the game off that one turn, of course it might happen. All right, Alomomola. That's a Pokemon that I had no concept of being good. I actually put it in the lowest tier in the initial draft of this, but I was sleeping for sure. This thing is annoying. I've seen a very high-ranked stall team using this with Whirlpool and Chilling Water and Wish Protect. So you still have very reliable recovery with this. You can pass Wishes off a 534 HP stat. So, you're sending in, a 272, or no, 277 HP Wish to anything that you switch to. That's crazy. That's crazy. Are you kidding me? Actually, no. Sorry, 267. I can't do math. 267 HP Wish. His special defense is garbage, so I like fully invested in this, but you could kind of balance it out a little bit more. Either way, your HP stat is really what's going to make you bulky. And you're lowering their attack with Chilling Water. Scald at home, as they call it. So you trap them with Whirlpool, and then ideally you trap a physical attacker or someone who can't really do that much to you. Then you whittle away their life with Chilling Water, and you Wish and Protect to keep yourself healthy, but also you're a cleric for the whole team. So you can do a lot with this guy, and obviously his regen. I like Terra Poison to make yourself immune to Toxic, but in a perfect world, you don't trap something that can Toxic you and either just switch out or, beat it 1v1 without wasting your Terrasilize on it. Crazy mon in the right context, though. Like, it's just so annoying to deal with. Your biggest fear is missing the Whirlpool. That could be devastating, too. And you know what? I think this thing might learn Perish Song, but no, it doesn't. There's other devious mons that do the Whirlpool and Perish Song trap, but I don't think they're in the game yet. All right, next is Grimmsnarl. So this is definitely the premier screen setter, right? We were talking a lot about how Cyclizar plus screens can be really greasy, and I think a lot of it comes down to Grimmsnarl having access to Prankster, just making him so reliable at getting them up. Screamtail also can fill that same role. But Grimm is great at it. You just slap some Light Clay on this guy. You got Spirit Break for like a strong neutral hit on a lot of guys. Coming off a base 120 attack, it's pretty respectable. This guy has to have the highest attack stat on a mon who has never cared about investing in an offensive build, right? Like, he's pretty much solely just a screen setter. You can use Parting Shot or Taunt in this last slot. You can use Thunder Wave in this last slot. You got some options for this guy. You can even use Fake Out, I guess, but I don't know. I'm not crazy about that. Wait, what the hell? False Surrender? When did they make this move? Doesn't check accuracy. It's just super Feint Attack, I guess. And I think Feint Attack is taken out of the game, but I didn't even know that existed. But yeah, standard light screen prankster guy. I mean, a dual screen prankster guy. And then either Parting Shot, Taunt, Thunder Wave, whatever you want. Utility move in that last slot. I put Terra Steel. Makes you immune to poison and poison moves. But you're never going to Terrasilize this thing. Let's be real. You can maybe go Ghost? I don't even know. I don't know what you would go other than Steel. But you're not Terrasilizing this guy, simply put. Okay, next, Titan. I thought this mon was going to be garbage, and then I thought he was going to be broken, and now I think he is somewhere in between. I think he's just kind of pretty good. as this tier is called. And you want to take one more look at it right here in all its glory. That's the pretty good tier as we're getting toward the end. So he is the only Slush Rush Mon, if I'm not mistaken, in the current meta. So Alolan Sandslash, not in the game. Beartick is also here, but I think this guy's just straight up better. He actually benefits from the defense boost in snow, which is pretty cool. I mean, you're not gaining all that much with no investment, but it allows you to belly drum up and fear things a little bit less. He's just unfortunately very frail defensively, but he has this crazy 170 base HP, which makes it feel a little less bad taking some hits. So basically you get this guy in with the snow up, and you know, you can chilly reception and pass right to him, no fear. And you get your belly drum up, you become super crazy fast and strong, and then you sweep. Any of these moves could be replaced with a variety of things, right? You could use Icicle Crash over Ice Spinner, but you definitely want the nice Ice Stab. Earthquake for coverage, I'd say, is almost mandatory. And then you could Terra Fire, which I think is really cool. Or you could Ice Shard for that reliable priority, right? Sometimes even with Slush Rush, you're going to be slower. This is what, 538 speed. So like fast choice scarfers are going to outspeed you. Other priority mons are going to go first on you. And when hail or snow ends, you will be very slow once again. So I like Ice Shard, Play Rough, Liquidation, both really good options. You could use, I don't know, does he have a fighting move? You could use Superpower, but when you belly drum up, you're really not trying to go for that. But yeah, he's got some great options. And again, I personally like Terra Blast Fire just to smash through Corviknight, because Earthquake he's immune to, and Ice move he's only neutral to. So he's not surviving a +6 Terra Blast Fire, that's for sure. All right, and then we got Gastrodon. He's still here, just kind of doing his annoying shit, but he lost Toxic, and he lost Scald, both of which are really, really unfortunate. But I think this is just a mon that can't be bad. The typing is too good. You have one sole weakness to Grass. You can Terrasilize to Poison to shake that off. And you're immune to water. You have great coverage, Earth Power and Ice Beam. Very hard to switch into, even with this kind of shitty, uninvested special attack. Base 92 ain't all that bad. You choose just one of the defenses to max out on, I think. You can go physical or special. I like special. Just depends on what's meta and what's not. And then you have rocks, but you could also use spikes. You could use Yawn. You could use... there's like, you know, curse sets with this guy going physical. But for now, I think you just go for like this solid coverage. Rocks to create a present threat, and then recover to heal off damage. But Gastron, not too different from what he has been in the past. Just no Toxic anymore. Really, really bites, and no Scald. So he's like a worse version of himself, but he's still solid. All right, and our last 4 mons. Try to get through these quickly. We're about at the 1 hour mark, but I'm going to get through them. Iron Hands. Paradox Hariyama, the future form. This guy is really good at throwing hands. So I like the Assault Vest set because he has so many good coverage options. You got Thunder Punch and Drain Punch for stab / recovery, but you could also run close combat if you want to just smack something really hard over the Drain Punch or over one of the coverage options. Ice Punch, you get that Bolt Beam coverage. Again, very solid. You can run Wild Charge instead of Thunder Punch too, but I think you want to keep this guy healthy. And then I have Fake Out, but you can run a lot of different things here. Fake Out is just nice to like have a priority move and kill things with, right? You could run Terra Blast with Flying, I think is so good. A lot of things are going to try to Earthquake you, which is why I picked Flying as the Terra type. But you could do Fire Punch, you could do Play Rough, you could do Iron Head, which I don't really like so much. You can do Swords Dance and ditch the Assault Vest for something like Leftovers or like a Citrus Berry or some shit like that. You can even do the Punching Glove on this guy and just not make contact, right? You avoid Rocky Helmet chip. But this thing honestly kind of feels like it has 4 move slot syndrome, right? It learns so many good moves, but which ones you're going to go for are very up in the air, and you can't do everything you want at the same time with him. Either way, for HP, I'm sorry, for EVs, I think you, no matter what, just go max HP, max attack on this thing. You want him to be shitting out damage. You want him to be sponging up hits easily. His SpDef is pretty bad, but it's carried by the Assault Vest. Maybe you take a little bit out of HP and invest into this so your boost is more pronounced, but I don't think you really need to, and he has naturally good defense. So this guy, he can get a lot done. Again, I'm not so sure on the set, and I'm not so sure on the set for a lot of these guys. Slowbro. So we were talking about how Slowking, you know, misses teleport, but doesn't matter because he has chilly reception. Unfortunately, Slowbro does not have chilly reception. That is only Slowking, and I guess because the move is like you tell a joke and it's so bad that the audience laughs you off stage and you have to dip out, or boos you off stage, whatever. Slowking can talk in the anime and Slowbro can't, so maybe that's the lore. Either way, boots. Always a great play on this guy. You just make him a physical wall. He has such great defense. You could run Rocky Helmet. You can run Leftovers, but I like Boots just because hazards are everywhere, and you don't want this thing getting toxic or toxic spiked. Body Press and Ice Beam, amazing coverage with these two. This takes advantage of your very high defense without having to invest into an offensive stat. This is great just to hit dragons, to hit flyers, to hit grass types, all of which are pretty common in this current meta. Ice is just such a great attacking type. And then your bread and butter is the Future Sight into, unfortunately, not Teleport, Future Sight into Switch. And then you got Slack Off for the reliable recovery. I could see maybe Assault Vest and you ditch Slack Off for like Flamethrower or something like that. No Scald really hurts for this Mon, but you could run Surf for Hydro. I don't think it's the move, though. I think you just go for Future Sight as your stab move and then as much coverage as possible. So yeah, AV is also an option again if you ditch the Slack Off, rely on Regenerator. Terra, I like Fairy on this guy, but also I could see Poison. Again, just immunity to Toxic and resisting Poison is very compelling for a lot of Mons. You could do Steel as well. I think if you are in doubt about your Terra type on a defensive Mon, always consider Water, Fairy, and Poison. They could all be great options. But Slowbro, you know, he hasn't changed too much other than just getting explicitly worse. Same thing for guys like Gastron and Toxapex. These used to be like peak of the metagame OU threats, but now, you know, as you see, like they're either in this tier or this tier for the most part. All right, second to last Mon, Toadscruel. I thought this guy was also garbage, but I have since changed my tune. If you guys want some insight real quick, my most improved, you can look at the video description for the first Mon's breakdown I did for this gen, and look at that tier list and see that it's slightly different from the ones I put up today. Iron Hands, Toadscruel, Slowbro, Gengar. No, I don't think I moved Gengar up. These three. Did I move Gastro up? And Sandy Shocks, all kind of the biggest winners of me having some more time to sit on this meta. But I saw a very, very highly ranked team running Toadscruel. I actually think I fought Toadscruel team at one point. And it kind of surprised me, man. This thing is dirty. I thought his ability was going to be a huge L. So you get -1 priority on your status moves, so like Leech Seed and Spore. But they ignore their target's abilities. Now, I didn't realize why that was going to be so good until this guy came around and became, you know, present on every single team. Goldengo, he is immune to all status moves, unless they're from Toadscruel. So I really, really like him for that purpose. He can be a spinner. He can be a spiker. He cannot set up Stealth Rock. He can knock you off. So I think it's really Rapid Spin, Knock Off, or Spikes in this spot, and then Leech Seed, Spore, Earth Power for the solid damage. But I guess you could run like Energy Ball or some kind of coverage move like Sludge Bomb if you want to fish for poisons. But yeah, oh yeah, he also learns Toxic and Toxic Spikes. This dude, I don't know, man. He's got some shit. Again, Toxic is not very well distributed. Neither is Knockoff. So the fact that he has access to some of these rare moves that are just so useful, I think put Toadscruel in a great spot. Terra type Water, because you're 4 times weak to Ice. Suddenly you become resistant to it. But again, Fairy, Poison, Steel, all great options. Even Dragon is a good Terra option for a lot of defensive Mons. I know I was just talking about the options you could have. But yeah, Water, Steel, Poison, Fairy, and debatably Dragon. But not on this guy because people are aiming Ice attacks at him probably. Also, you know, you're weak to Fire, and suddenly you become resistant to that. I think just cycling around like the starter trio, you know, if you're Grass, become Water. If you're Water, become Fire. And if you're Fire, become Grass. All really works out quite well for Terra types, but quite obviously not set in stone. But yeah, Toadscroll, man, he's pretty fucking cool. Just depends what you need more. A spinner, a knocker, a spiker, a T-spiker, whatever. Just put the appropriate one in this spot. And for his EVs, he is naturally very especially bulky. So I like fully investing in defense. Just make him a very well-rounded tank. He actually, I think, almost has the same defensive stats as Dondozo for defense and special defense, but the HP is way worse, like 70 base points worse. Either way, yeah, this mon's pretty fucking cool. And I have his stocks going up. I thought he was bad, but he's a lot better than I thought. And last but not least, we have Gengar. So Gengar is kind of like almost totally eclipsed by this guy. Gholdengo is clearly the better ghost. I mean, he's just like more well-rounded. You know, he's got better defenses, better bulk, you know. Stab, make it rain, goes crazy. And he also gets, you know, Shadow Ball, Focus Blast, and Trick, just like Gengar. So why even use Gengar in the first place? Well, he wins the head-to-head against Gholdengo. He is a lot faster than him. Base 110 versus base 84. I think it's 84. I have to check now. 84, yeah. So he's a lot faster. And when you're both Scarfed, that means that you're going to go first and you're going to send him to hell. But I think Gholdengo actually narrowly lives a Shadow Ball from Choice Specs or Choice Scarf Gengar. Let's check. Let us check. Yeah, so only a 37.5% chance to KO. But if you put the rocks up, that becomes 75, and obviously if you have one layer of spikes, it is guaranteed. Wait, where the hell's spikes on here? Oh. Yeah, guaranteed after one layer of spikes. Either way, he's a great revenge killer in general. You know, he's just very fast, 110 speed with the Scarf. You're still hitting really hard. You're 3 points weaker in special attack. Or, you know, 3 base points, so 6 points weaker than Gholdengo. You don't have all that defensive utility. But you can absorb T-Spikes. You can, I guess, Terra to Ghost to, like, overcharge your Shadow Balls. Point is, I think Gengar's still pretty solid, right? Like, he's not bad. It's hard to be a fast, strong Ghost and be bad in this metagame. You're also still a great answer to Annihilate. You know, say you want to run 2 demonically fast, strong Ghosts. You could run Gholdengo and Gengar on the same team. That actually sounds low-key kind of gross. Just a Ghost spam team, even though they're obviously a little bit redundant. If you have stuff to clean up the holes left in your team by that, I could see Gengar being very good. Or I could see that team being very good. But yeah, I still think Gengar is good. I don't think he's bad. You know, I put Weavile in the, like, don't even consider territory because Chien-Pao is just explicitly better than him at everything. But at least Gengar is faster than Gholdengo. And, you know, he can do some shit. Also, his move pool is crazy, right? Like, you have Energy Ball, you have Dazzling Gleam, you have Perish Song if you wanted to do some weird shit. You have Taunt, Thunder Wave, Toxic. Oh, wow, he still does learn Toxic, Will-O-Wisp. So, I mean, I could even see sets with, like, oh, geez, not Rest. Definitely not that on Gengar. I could see more support-based sets with Gengar working out pretty well. But yeah, all right, guys, I'm going to end the video and also the series here. These Pokemon right here in the okay and below tiers, like, honestly, I don't have enough data on them to really talk about them anyway, but I would love to see what you guys come up with some of these mons. Definitely feel free to, like, tag me on Twitter or send me a replay or something if you manage to pull off a sweep with some of these shitters. They're not terrible, though. Like, I'm sure there are Pokemon within any of these tiers that I'm still sleeping on. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I love making these videos. It's honestly really fun. So drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and we'll see how this meta progresses. I'm going to get back to the ladder grind. I'll probably have some gameplay videos up for you guys soon. But yeah, we'll see. All right. Thanks again, guys. Catch you later.